Thank you for joining us on the Escape the Grind podcast, where we talk about escaping the grind, the entrepreneurial grind, by creating systems that make you more consistently profitable and essentially give you back your freedom. We are joined today by the one and the only Shannon Logan. Shannon, what's your gym and where are you from?
Absolutely. So, obviously, my name is Shannon Logan. I own TrueCore, and we are in Annapolis, Maryland, about 20 miles outside of Washington, D.C. While we're recording this, it's the end of November, and TrueCore is about to celebrate their ninth birthday in December. So, we've been around a little bit of time at this point, and I myself have been in the fitness industry going on 18 years. So, I've been around the block a little bit too.
You're a vet. What was your first fitness industry job?
Yeah, so it was a personal trainer and a group exercise instructor at the YMCA in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay, you're earned your stripes. I did Golds. I
Yep.
did personal training at Golds.
Yep.
I don't think you can really say that you've been through the gamut of the fitness industry until you've had one of those like entry level trainer
Yeah.
jobs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember actually the my coach who taught me basically CrossFit and then how to be a CrossFit coach. He used to game the system where basically they would only pay you so many like floor hours, right? It's
Mm,
kind of like how if you work at a restaurant waiting tables, they don't pay you very much and you get paid, but you get paid in tips. So it was kind of like that system where you would get paid like $7 an hour to kind of sit around in the back and eventually you try
yep.
and prospect and clean equipment, that kind of stuff. He would literally like he had so much hustle, he would clock out when he didn't have sessions and then only clock back in during prime time where he could like maximize the chances of getting more sessions, um, and filling up the schedule. So that kind of hustle is the kind of thing that you see in
Yeah.
those entry level positions versus like if you open up a CrossFit gym, the coaches just kind of get handed classes and clients. Um,
Yes. Yes. I've
yeah.
I've done both. So like back in the day, I started personal training when I was in undergrad. So I would go and I would work at the YMCA from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. 3 days a week, and then go to classes all day. And then after graduation, when I went full time, I did the whole split thing. So I would work from 5 to 10, have off from 10 to 3, and then work from 3 to 7. Rinse and repeat day in and day out. And so that split shift, sounds nice in theory. You're like, "Oh, you get off from 10 to 3," but normally, like, I would work out from 10 to noon. I would go home and have lunch, and then by the time I was, like, coming down, it was time to amp back up to get back in the gym for the second half of the day. So, I look back on that and I think, how not to sound cocky, but how easy sometimes people have it these days.
Um, I think it's okay to sound cocky because if you don't go through a period in your life where, pardon my French, like you're just eating shit to try and figure it out, like this builds
Yeah,
character. I mean, I
yeah.
did plenty of similar things. Like I worked at Costco in the produce department. We started at 4 a.m. just like throwing
Nice.
boxes of bananas around. They were like, "You're the young guy. You can break your back and throw bananas around." And then coaching from working 4 a.m. to like 2, and then coaching CrossFit classes in the evening from 4 to 8, and just doing that rinse
Yep.
and repeat. And if it wasn't working at Costco, it was like working construction or some kind of combination of the things. So
Mhm.
you got to get
Mhm.
in there and you got to get dirty and you got to earn your back in my day stripes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we're both past that phase of the career. So when did you actually get into ownership?
Sure. So, I went back to grad school in 2011. I started in the fall. I went to George Washington University here in DC. Got my master's in exercise physiology. So during that time, I started to manage a gym. After I got out of grad school full time, I was a huge nerd in grad school, so I really love A&P, anatomy and phys. I taught it to undergrads while I was there, and it just gave me a really good background on how to help people best. And so after I got out of grad school, I managed a gym for a while, for about a year, maybe a year and a half. It was probably a year and a half. And at that point, they kind of did a rebrand, and they were headed in a certain uh, direction that didn't really align with what I had wanted to do. And so I was like, you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to kind of go out on my own. And so that was December of 2014. So it's been a little while now.
I think it's tough being a gym owner. I know it's tough being a gym owner for various different reasons because if your head is not screwed on just right, you're gonna make like wild decisions about your business that seem really logical at the time, but don't make any sense. I've had multiple experiences that you're describing where I'm, a
Hmm.
manager or head coach at a gym, and something happens to the owner, and they bring this idea to me like, this is going to be great. I'm going to get my staff on board. You're going to get pumped. It's going to be awesome. And they bring it to me, and I'm just like, I don't have a good poker face for hiding my utter disappointment with things, but just like, this is not, no, this is not good. Like you want to take this CrossFit gym and you want me to go and do like an indoor free running gym, like a parkour gym. It's like, I have negative interest in what that is, or like, you want to take this thing here and move it here, like
Yeah,
this doesn't make sense. It's like there is a right way to do it, and when you see it's, I think it's easy to get off the path because you're operating by yourself for the most part. um,
absolutely,
but have you
absolutely.
seen anything go astray like that?
I think I think the boutique fitness industry, and I'm going to classify CrossFit within that.
Mhm.
It's a hard market because there is a personal relationship developed with clients and staff because of the small knit, right?
Mhm.
It's usually a smaller group of people that pay a little bit more money that you get to know better. And what I've witnessed and what I've experienced myself, where I had to grow through, was remembering it was my responsibility to run the gym. It's not my clients telling me how to run my gym. So what I mean by that is the only person that has the whole picture is me. Has a whole picture of utilities, rent, insurance, payroll, projections, leads. Like, I'm the only one that knows all of that. And as a result, there's no one else qualified unless I bring someone in and share all of that with them and they
Mhm.
have experience to really advise me how to run my business. And clients, and I mean, I'll do the same thing if it comes to aspects of things that I buy, but remembering that it's our responsibility to lead our clients and not the other way around. And so when people get disgruntled or they start chirping or they make noise or they don't agree or this or that, that doesn't mean that we should change our course. It means that maybe, like, if you feel like you need to reassess, then reassess, but bring people on that can properly advise. And so I've seen and I've watched, and because although I've owned for 9 years, I've been in the industry for 18, and I've been in the CrossFit world since 2010. And so I've watched a lot of gyms go through that, and I've watched a lot of gyms sell and turn over hands and, fail or choose to close because they kind of forgot what their responsibility was.
Yeah, I mean, there's if you're a gym owner, you know exactly what she's talking about because there's a lot that goes on mentally with the person who's at the helm, and if you don't have strong character and you don't have a strong direction, you will often succumb to the pressure of member influence because everybody knows the guy or girl that owns the gym. They're like, "Hey, Johnny, we think it'd be a great idea if you did this." And it turns out that, well meaning Ted over here just doesn't know what's going on. And he just wants to do what's best for him anyway. So I've seen a lot of that. I've also seen for the past year, I've interviewed about 20 gym owners a month. And we'll go through a little bit of what's going on. And I should say that just about every single one I interviewed knows they need to fire some of their staff and they won't do it. So it's just like having the strength and the conviction to to stick to your guns is really, really important. They also like won't follow through with things they know they need to do because of the members, which is part of that
Mhm.
like that push pull of the dynamic that is so small and so
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so tight knit. Um, so you started your gym. Was it originally a CrossFit facility?
Yep. Yep. We started as like 2,000 square feet CrossFit. It was me, myself, and I. So I had a couple coaches part time, um, but I was the one cleaning the bathrooms, washing the floors, taking sales appointments, all of that. So we started out at a 2,000 square foot facility. Within a year and a half, we had over 150 members. Um, I bought out another local CrossFit gym and combined our staff and our membership and actually moved into their spot, which was then 8,000. That was back in 2016, and then continued to grow it. We were well over 200 members. Um, I expanded again, so the suite beside us became free. So I opened that and just had that be like a Olympic weightlifting space. That was another 3,000. So we ended up at 11,000 square feet uh, a year before COVID hit. And then COVID hit and the whole world changed, including everything that people thought they knew about fitness and how that impacts the day to day life.
Mhm.
So,
Would you say pre-COVID you were on just a general trajectory of growth for your business?
yeah, for sure, for sure. So pre-COVID, we were absolutely growing because I could expand and we had new members every month and the bills were paid and we had profit and all of that. The biggest shift I've seen is that there was a lot more sincere interest in group fitness classes pre-COVID. While they still exist, while we still have them at TrueCore, um, people's perspective changed through COVID, and it wasn't, from what I've seen at least, it wasn't just a I don't want to get sick, so stay away from me. It was a oh now been used to being on my own, or I've shifted how I work out because I work from home now. And so the times of days have changed. I got into personal training. I really enjoy it. I got into small group personal training. I really enjoy it. I want more personalized help, time, flexibility, those things. So I mean, we did really well through COVID. I maintained 89% of our clients. Um, we did a lot of work. We went all virtual, all that kind of stuff. And so we were fine coming out of it. At the same time, I had a baby, and it was just interesting how how timing of everything worked. In terms of a business standpoint, I was already trying to grow our personal training pre-COVID, and then coming out of it, it just was kind of a snowball effect.
Yeah, Shannon, you and I are living like very parallel lives here. Great trajectory pre-COVID, and then like the start of the pandemic, that was the most hours I've ever worked in my life. Like customizing programming for 150 people, like taking everything
Wow.
online, like literally, like sure,
Yeah.
it's a template, but I'm getting in there and I'm like, I know what equipment, because like we lent out equipment to the members, like emptied the gym. And it's like, I know what equipment
Yep.
this person has, and I've been training them for years, so I know what they can do. So I'm going to go ahead and write a bunch of their stuff. It was absolutely awful. It was terrible. But all that stuff's behind us now. Water under the bridge. But the fact is, the way that the greater market looks at group fitness, you're right, has totally changed. So that being said, you were looking at growing your PT beforehand, and you actually met through Scott Carpenter at PT Legends. So have you changed your model at all away from primarily group fitness to small group PT?
Absolutely. So what is incredible is that, again, the timing of it was all great. It lined up perfectly, and within the last 2.5 years, we've kind of completely changed our model. So we still have group. Our group is still alive and active, and we have between 4 to 5 class times a day, and it's great. What has really changed is that every single person that comes into our gym to join now, I have a very in-depth conversation with. So my buying conversation, my intro, my consult has changed where we take a deep dive into what's really behind them wanting to join. And sometimes the prospect may not know that until they talk to me, right? And they're like, oh, I just want to lose weight. Okay, great. What's behind the weight loss? Well, I really want to have more energy with my kids. Oh, okay. So what does that look like today? Oh man, I wake up tired each day. I'm dragging by lunch. I get home to pick them up from school. I can't pick them up because I'm too drained. Like we get into that. And as a result, now I really know, understand, comprehend what's bringing them in. And I build out a customized program that I can guarantee, because I put over 250 people through it now, that is going to solve that for them. And then when I present that plan and I put the, hey, I'll give you your money back if you're not happy with it, on top of it, it's a no brainer for them. And so that plan looks like, oftentimes for us now, a combo of personal training, group class, nutrition coaching, and then mindset work,
Mhm.
so that we take the whole person into account. And I had this kind of aha moment as I started to work with Scott, because I had been in the industry at that point over 15 years. And I still had clients that would, stop working with me at some point, which they all do. But then I would run into them and they'd be back at square one. And so, like, when I started to work with Scott, I realized I'd only been treating people's bodies and I'd forgotten about helping them change their mind and their spirit. And so once I stopped working with them, the body just went back to what it knew beforehand because we did no internal work. And so now with all of our programs, we start with that in-depth conversation to understand the client best and build out a plan to get them to what's important for their life, that then I can put my word, my money, and my reputation behind. And as a result, it's completely changed what we do in brick and mortar. It's changed my staff in terms of I hired my first full-time employee January of 2020, and I closed down my gym March 16th of 2020. We were closed for 79 days, and then we were outdoors for 2.5 months, and then it was masked for I don't know how long, forever. So I had one full-time employee when we went into COVID. I now have four.
That's huge.
So yeah, and they're, like, able to make a good living, and they're all growing, they all made more money this year than they did last year, and that's what's projected as we continue into 24. So, like, that was the big change that COVID almost helped with, because everyone was mentally messed up in COVID. I mean, I was. It was a shit show, right? So that kind of helped me slow down and see that I needed to change things. And then as we changed things and we provided quality service, really high touch point, we could charge more, my staff could make more, and everyone was just happier and more content.
You have said a lot of really important things that should be unpacked a little bit. Before I get into some of the details, are you doing discovery calls?
Yes,
Okay, cool. I love the guarantee. How many times has somebody actually come back and said and enacted the guarantee?
rarely. I mean, I can't think of one. Now we've got paperwork too that says, like, here's what it entails. Like, I need you to put 80% in, and that looks like walking through your tracker, making these appointments. Like, if you put that in and you're not happy with progress, I'll give you your money back. I've never had someone come back and say, I did it and it didn't work.
Yeah, it's a conditional guarantee.
Yeah.
I did that as well, and it's a no-brainer to offer it because that will uncover somebody's true objection if they're not really going to do it because it's
Right.
literally becomes risk-free, which I think is really great. As far as offers go, I find so many gym owners get stuck in the I'm just going to build a 150 member gym at $200 a month, or dramatically lower than that, which always pains me and make my 30K and be good. And so I see that structure a lot. We both know it doesn't work. It's great on
Yeah.
paper. A lot of people teach it, but in reality, it doesn't work. So front end offers is something that's really important. Obviously, high ticket offers are something that have transformed your business. So when somebody comes in, you obviously are going to want to steer them towards one option that's going to be best suited for them. But how many things will you offer? Like I typically would limit the max to three. And what are they, including services and price points, if you don't mind sharing that?
Sure. So we actually have 4, and I'll explain why. So we start off with our health mentorship, and it's 9 weeks long. And in that, we have 3 tiers. We have our executive, our transformation, and our accelerator. Executive is gonna have the biggest, best, and it's 7K. I provide 12 meals a week for the client based off of taste, nutrition, macros, etc. Will show up at their house. They just need to warm them up. Then it involves personal training twice a week. Keeping in mind we do a hybrid model, so it might be one on one, but often it's more like one on three, one on two. And then they have unlimited group classes, and they get a weekly mindset call with their coach where they hop on Zoom for 30 minutes. We go over what went well, where did they struggle, how can we plan out the next week for the most success. That's executive. Everything stays the same in our drop down to 4,500 at transformation, except now I don't send them meals. So it's still personal training, group class, mindset. Then we drop down one more time to 3K, where I cut the personal training in half. So they get into group classes faster. They still have support, accountability, motivation from a safety standpoint. They've learned what they need to before they're in group class, but I cut the PT down in half. So those are our 3 main starter high ticket health mentorship options. And I have a lot of ways that I can break up payments or space them out, etc. If people are still like, there's no way, or that's more than I need, or whatever it might be, we have our one more drop down option. It's a 6-week jumpstart, $799. Starts off with 8 personal training sessions. So again, has them started in a safe, secure, one-on-one or small group. Then they go into group class, and then they just have a week bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks they check in with a coach, but it's a much shorter time frame. It's like 15 minutes, basically just to make sure they're staying on track. So it's rare that I go through those first 3 and drop down to our 6-week and don't get someone bought in by that point.
Okay, awesome. So there's no like it's $150 unlimited classes option.
No, and something to mention. So that $200 per person a month, 150 members, like, I lived and breathed that, like, I was that for a long time. I was at 200 plus. My equipment broke down. There's a lot of personalities to manage. Um, turnover, you're not making enough to pay staff well enough to have full-time people that wanna stick around. Um, I have we have, like, maybe 50% the membership, because we're at, like, 110, 112 now that we had pre-COVID,
Mhm.
and we're doubling our gross per month.
Half the members, double the gross.
Yeah.
It seems like that's working out better for you, um, to put it lightly. So, by the way, did you ever do Two Brain?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're both former Two Brainers,
Yeah.
and nothing bad to say about Two Brain. I just find that the growth most people are looking for doesn't happen. It's more. I mean, to me, it was like Entrepreneur 101. It was like, hey, buddy, do you own a gym and you don't actually know how to run a business at all? I'll help you. It's like learning how to tie your shoes for the gym owner,
Yeah.
and it was really great because at the time my shoes were untied. But
Exactly.
if you're looking for that big time growth, I didn't find it there. Um, anyway, lovely, lovely human beings. But you've changed your business dramatically. So it was a CrossFit. It definitely doesn't sound like that anymore. What would you describe it now as now?
Yeah, so it gets it can get tricky actually. So because we're technically still CrossFit, we still are affiliated, we
Mm-hmm.
still have 4 to 5 CrossFit classes per day.
Mm-hmm.
I still personally believe methodology of CrossFit is very solid. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a fantastic training. Where it gets sketchy is what society's viewpoint of CrossFit has turned into, right? The like high, really intense, intimidating, bloody hands, like that whole scene. So we still run CrossFit. We still train our members with PT with CrossFit, but I take a much more personal approach to each client. So when someone comes in and they join, let's say our high ticket 9 week, we start them out with PT sessions that are CrossFit based. Now, keep in mind if the person has a horrible back or they've got really crappy knees or they, had a shoulder issue when they were in college and they can't kip swing, well, then we alter what we need to alter. Um, and so we're able to we actually this last year, 2023, got nominated and won best personal trainer in our county, which is pretty freaking cool.
That's awesome.
Um, Especially because we're a big county and there's a lot of gyms and there's a lot of, competition. And to know that like we still have CrossFit on our website, on our Google, um, but we're able to kind of blend it all so that we can say to a client, "Hey, look, you don't want to do CrossFit. You're afraid it's going to hurt you. No problem. I've got 18 years in. My COO has 12 in. My head coach has 10. Like we have enough background that you don't have to do CrossFit if you don't want to. We're still going to take care of you and kick your butt." So,
Yeah.
it is a positive thing and can also be a stickler depending on who the client is, but I make sure to walk them through that difference.
Yeah, I agree. The methodology is like I'll be doing it for forever, but when you've been doing it for a long time, then in your mind, pretty much all fitness is becomes CrossFit, right? And it's just like, hey, you
Right.
need to work out. You could do it smarter. You could do it stupid.
Right.
We can show you how to do it smart.
Yeah.
But in terms of um, let's just say if you had to open a gym from scratch day one tomorrow, what type of facility would you open? Would you still choose a CrossFit or would you go more small group PT?
I would 100% go more small group PT.
What kind of square
Um,
footage?
yeah, so a part of our story, right? If pre-COVID we were 1,000 square feet, okay? Now remember, I am making double the monthly revenue right now. I'm bringing in literally double than we were 3 years ago per month. I have taken my square foot. I first took it down from 11 to 8, back down to 8. And then last year, we moved from 8 down to 4. So I cut my rent in half.
Yeah,
I've doubled my income, cut my rent in half, cut my membership in half, where now it's what I love is that my clients also are like writing these amazing Google reviews because they're grateful. It's pretty incredible to watch. But I would say, depending on what the layout is, somewhere between probably like 3,000 square feet ish. The way our space is, we're kind of a horseshoe. And I think there is something to be said for group class. I do think it's a great option. Um, if you can figure out how not to take away from personal training and small group demand hours with it,
hmm.
because it's a good drop down option, right? If I have a high ticket, often what happens with us is we have the first 9 weeks, and then someone will do a long term 6 month, sometimes a year renewal, and then eventually they're like, "I'm great. Can I just get into group just by group?" And I can still give them something at that point. Um, so I think there's a spot for group if you can make sure that it's not eating into your prime time floor space. Because as you can tell, I've been all the way up to 11,
Mm.
225 plus members, and now I'm down to 4, half that, and I'm paying my staff well. We offer health insurance. Like, they're sticking around, and I feel like we're making a really big impact. So if you're brand new, I would say, first of all, start small in general. Like, you don't need to go into a ton of debt. I didn't have debt, and that's been huge. And get into the sales game. Learn how to sell so that you can price your product well, because you deserve to make a living where you're not stressed out. And then go for the small group PT, maybe group class if you can find a way not to cannibalize your floor.
Yeah, and I think a place for those for the old dogs like you and I. That's like if I ever go to a gym again, like I just want to party. I just want to do the CrossFit class and do that thing. I'm well past needing other anything other than that because it is. I think a lot of us got into it because it was just such a fun environment, but the landscape has changed dramatically. Um, so in that transformation from the CrossFit class to the small group of PT, do you feel like you had to upend your business, or you were able to do it gradually to where you didn't feel like this huge rocking of the boat or losing of members or anything like that?
I definitely did it gradually because I sold my first high ticket package in July 5th, 2021. So it was less than 2.5 years ago. Um, Now, what I'll let you know is people noticed it, because here's the thing: once you sell high ticket, you don't want to go back to anything but, because I can sell one high ticket package and it makes up 18 group class memberships.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yep.
It's insane. And so, I was selling high ticket, which just meant that our PT was increasing, but our group classes were decreasing. So people were like, "Are you okay? Like, is membership okay? Like, it seems like you're losing clients." I'm like, No, but we're great. I'm just selling a lot of PT." And so there was that kind of vibe as we moved into high ticket. Like, it's
Yeah.
been 2.5
Mom, is
years.
everything okay?
Right, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm crushing it." Like like, we're awesome. And then when I decided last year, I was like, "I don't need 8,000 square feet." Like, my rent is 10 grand a month. My utilities are a grand a month in winter. Like, I don't need this square footage.
Yeah.
I take that money and I put it back into the business or into my staff, you know? And so when we moved, I made some big decision choices when it came to business and what we were gonna do, and it pissed off some people, and they left. And that's okay. And they left because we were no longer the best fit for them. And that gets to be okay. That gets to be okay for them, and that gets to be okay for me to say, "You know what? 5 years ago, I really fit well with that."
Yeah.
Who I am now as a mom, as a business owner a decade in, it's just a little bit different, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of knowing where the ship is going and sticking to your guns and not letting it ruffle your feathers because you do it long enough and you have to develop a thick skin because you're really friendly with the members. But if too many people are in the inside, that's when you get hurt by that.
Yeah.
But through the stages of that, if you could just chunk it down, kind of tactically, by the time you reduce. Did you at any point reduce a large number of group classes, and that caused kind of an exodus, or how did the process actually go of you structurally changing the business?
Yeah, so, our group classes mainly stayed the same,
Mhm.
our group times. The only shift we really made is when we moved buildings last year. We had a barbell class that we shifted the time to later,
Mhm.
and our barbell class people didn't like that, and they decided that we were no longer a good fit. But because of our first square footage, we had so much space, I could run PT and group at the same time.
Okay.
And in our new space, the way it is it's kind of a horseshoe. So we have restrooms and an office kind of in the middle.
Mhm.
So I built it out where group classes on one side and PTs on one side, so both can run without too much of a problem. Um, And so there wasn't a huge class change. We got rid of our 6:30 PM class, which was a, change after COVID, because what I have found is so many people work hybrid or
Mm.
remotely, that after 5 o'clock, there's not a lot of people that want to come in unless it's for personal training.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So, but we didn't have a huge class schedule change, because through the first year and a half, I was selling more PT, so PT was increasing and group numbers were decreasing.
Right. So you had the space to run both concurrently, so it didn't become an issue.
Yeah,
Gotcha. And by the
yeah,
time at the end when you downsized again and you had a bit of that exodus, you know, always it never feels good as the gym owner to have people you've worked with for a long time leave. But from a business standpoint, like, did that really hurt or bother you, like a revenue standpoint?
no. So remember, I make one high ticket sale, I replace 18 group members. So if I had in the last year, if I had 15 group members leave because of the choice I made, which is we're about that, we're less than 20 in the
Mhm.
past year, I replaced them with one high ticket. And in this high ticket, what we have found too is retention's really good because they get results. So it's very, very rare that I don't have someone continue after the first 9 weeks. It's normally a 6 or 12 month personal training contract after that.
Gotcha. Okay. Um,
Yeah,
it's really amazing. So basically, I mean, that's kind of enacting like high ticket and PT legends in the gym. That's been the big
yeah,
transformation. Um, Obviously, big shout out to those guys because what they're doing works, as is proven by Shannon Logan, but also math. Um,
yes,
and I think if anything, like there are plenty of ways to make a model successful, but some are easier and some are harder. And I think if anything, it just kind of disproves that the straight 150, 200, 30K model doesn't work. There's a lot more
yeah,
cajoling and things that have to go in there to make it work. Most of the most successful CrossFit gym owners that I know, they're way past 150. They're at 250, 300, and they've got a really good value ladder built into their gym.
yep,
So it totally works for them and they can break, the glass ceiling of whatever that 30K is comfortably. But anyway, the model works, been proven amazing. The last thing I want to chat about before we get going here, time really does fly, right? Everybody says that, but it
yeah,
just goes. Um,
yeah,
is pre-COVID, you already had it. Like you had the goods, at least from my perspective, that you were doing the work that needed to be done. You were getting leads and you were making sales and you were fulfilling and you were doing really well. So your business was just kind of, it was humming along and it was continuing to grow. I see a lot of gym owners that don't understand that there's a minimum volume of work that has to exist for your business to grow, and they also don't necessarily know what that is. As is evidenced by, I was on a call with a gym owner a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "Hey, will you ever consider doing this?" And I just gave him something that is like very commonplace to do, and he's like, "No, that's too much work." And it's like it's weird that your business is struggling. So what was
can't imagine why.
I know, I can't imagine why. Because it's
Yeah,
it's way more work to go out and do the things that you need to do to make yourself successful. But I want to wrap it up by asking basically the last two things. What are, let's say, the three core habits you do in your business to make sure that you're successful, and continue to grow? Because ultimately, it's the work you put in on a day to day basis that dictates your outcomes. It's like people losing weight, right? It's the habits that produce
mm,
the results.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
let's just go with that.
Okay, there is a lot I could unpack there, but I will give you synopsis or bullet points as much as I can from where I am now. So keep in mind, I'm 9 years in. I'm 18 years down the road in some aspect, right? So for me, I have to identify the day before. So when I wrap up my workday every afternoon, I write down my top three priorities for the next day
Mhm.
that need to get done to move my business forward. Okay, the top three things that if I do Just do those 3 things, everything else will eventually work out. That gets done first thing in the morning. I wake up at 4:45, I get my coffee, I do my prayers and meditation, I go do those 3 things. Rinse and repeat 6 days a week. That's including Saturday morning, because that moves the needle a little bit each day, so that when I get done a month, when I get down to a quarter, that's a lot of change. Second, you have to remember your own self-growth and your own self, reflection, because if things are shitty with you, things are gonna be shitty in your business. If you're overtired, if you're burned out, if you're not eating, if you're not sleeping, it's gonna show up at work. So, one of the best things, I would say the best thing I ever did for my company was start mentorship. I joined Two Brain in 2018, and since then, it's just been like freaking gangbusters. But I keep investing in mentorship. I'm not saying that you have to go out and get a mentor, but you have to take some hard looks at yourself in terms of your own self-care and your own self-growth. Because I got to a point where yeah, I know the human body inside and out, and I can coach the deadlift in the snatch, but I needed to learn business and how to be a good business leader.
Mm.
So top 3 priorities in business leader, and then, like, remembering why you got in it in the first place and why you're still here. It's very easy to get caught up in the could've, should've, they do, why can't I need to. You know, with social media the way it is, you get on there and all you see is everyone's highlight reel. But if I get done my day and I go on and I see the gym across the street and the gym up the road and all this crap, and I forget that, like, my success is based on my clients, my staff, and my family, and that's where I take my measurements from. Not the gym down the street, and not the bullshit on Facebook, but my compass are my clients' retention, how long they're there, how happy they are, my staff's retention and happiness, and my family. So what defines your success? And then remind yourself of that in some regard every single day. So when I end my work day, I have this mindset of I'm never good enough, right? I always want to be somewhere I'm not yet. I should be somewhere further along than I am. So I sit down and I spend 2 minutes. In the past month, I've grown here. In the past year, I've grown here. In the past 5 years, I've grown here. Because then I'm closing my day with, "Oh, hell yeah, like, I made some progress. Let's wake up tomorrow, rinse and repeat, and keep crushing it."
Have you read The Gap in the Gain?
I have.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's we're on the same page. If you
Yeah.
haven't read that, The Gap in the Game, it's Dan Hardy, right?
Yes.
And it's co-authored by someone else. But anyway, do that because it will help substantially with mindset. So just to recap,
It's
the
on my notebook. It's on my yeah, here it is. It's on my book stand right there, actually.
yeah, I need to organize the it's in there somewhere back there. But just to recap those things, the first thing you were talking about is basically eat the frog, right? Wake up and do the three
Yep.
things in the morning. You probably read that book also.
Yep.
That are going to move your business forward. I call it win the day. I literally
Yep.
have a little whiteboard thing down in front of me that has three things written on it because if you start to bloat it, those things just become less and less important. But anyway, win the day every day. First thing in the morning, you eat the frog. The second thing is basically getting mentorship to move your business forward because you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And then the third thing would be to define success for yourself by not where you're not, but where you've come from, basically the progress that you've
Mhm.
made over time.
Mhm. Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, it has been 44 minutes. Again, it goes fast. Is there anything that you want to talk about that you're doing that's new that that you want to promote or people can reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. So, I don't wanna take more time because I feel like we could talk for forever, but, you guys can find me, Coach Shannon Logan on Instagram. You can email me, Shannon at truecorecoaching.com. On Facebook, I'm just Shannon Logan. We are brick and mortar, but we also do a bunch of virtual coaching as well for clients out there. I've recently launched health and fitness coaching for business owners, entrepreneurs, right? Because we all have a million decisions every day, and most entrepreneurs put themselves at the bottom of that. So helping them take care of themselves, once again, they can make less decisions, get told what to do, have guidance and support from someone that understands it, who's been there, who's walked it, who's able to cut my hours, get in better shape than before I had my daughter. And you can check that out, Fit CEO. The website is truecore-fitceo.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Shannon.
Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.